English lesson presentation prepared by V.R. Dalvi, TGT English from JNV Beed. Before we begin our lesson, I would like to ask you a question. What are your hobbies? You must be having hobbies like watching TV, reading books, reading stories, playing games, narrating stories, gardening, picture collection. You may be having many more hobbies. Today we are going to read the story of the selfish giant. And children like stories, yes or not? So this story is for class 8th. This story is written by Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde, Irish born, was an intellectual, novelist, playwright, poet and critic. You can look at the picture of Oscar Wilde. He was born on October 16, 1854. He died on November 30th, 1900. His birthplace was Dublin, Ireland. He was educated at University of Oxford. His great works were The Importance of Being Earnest, The Happy Prince, House of Pomegranates. You can see this is the giant's castle. This is a beautiful giant's castle. The giant's garden was beautiful and children loved to play in it. You can see the beautiful flowers are there. It was a large, lovely garden with soft green grass. Here and there over the grass stood beautiful flowers like stars, and there were 12 peach trees. You can see the beautiful flowers like stars, and there was green soft grass, and there were 12 peach trees in the garden. And in the springtime they broke into delicate blossoms and fruits. The birds sat on these trees and sang so sweetly that the children used to stop their games. The giant had visited his friend Cornish Orc of Cornwall, UK. He was the friend of the giant, and the giant stayed with him for 7 years. When the giant arrived back home, he saw the children playing in the garden. And the giant became very angry and he cried in a very gruff voice, "What are you doing here in my garden?" And the children ran away. He said, "My own garden is my own garden. I will allow nobody to play in it but myself." And the children were so frightened that they ran away. He put a notice board on the wall. And what was written on that notice board? "Trespassers will be prosecuted." He was a very selfish giant. Selfish giant built a huge wall around his garden. Poor children had now nowhere to play. They tried to play on the road, but the road was very dusty and full of hard stones, and they did not like it. And because of this high wall, they cannot go inside the garden also. The spring came, and all over the country there were little blossoms and little birds. Only in the garden of the selfish giant, it was still winter. You can see these little blossoms everywhere in the country, and little birds were singing. But in the giant's garden, it was still winter. The spring has forgotten this garden. The snow covered the grass with a great white cloak, and the frost painted all the trees silver. Then they invited the north wind to stay with them, and he came, and he was wrapped in the furs. He rode all day about in the garden. The giant cannot understand why the spring is so late in coming. One day the children entered the garden, and along with them came the spring. There was a small child who could not climb the tree, so the giant placed him on the tree. The tree was still covered with snow. As soon as the child sat on it, the tree blossomed. Now the giant understood his mistake and he allowed the children to play in his garden, and every day the giant used to play with the children and waited for the little child. One day the little child took the giant with him to play in the paradise. And when the children ran in that afternoon, they found the giant lying dead under the tree, all covered with white blossoms. Oscar Wilde. Now here are some new words for you. Delicate means soft, blossom, flowers, gruff, rough, trespasser, those who enter in somebody's land without permission, prosecuted, to punish, frost, powder-like coating of vapor, cloak, outdoor garment, hail, frozen rain falling, rattled, short, sharp, hard sound. Thank you for watching this video.